Hey guys, Michael Troy here. Today I'm continuing my look back at the amazing Batman and the Outsiders series from the 80s by Mike W. Barr and Jim Aparo. We're actually up to the point where Alan Davis takes over the book. Completely mind-boggling and life-changing for me as a kid reading this for the first time. So I can't wait to share these stories with you. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit like. I'm going to cue the intro and I'll be right back.
It's Troy TV. Comic book art critiques. Snark, talk, and sarcastic ways. Levels and geeky gaze. 80s comics rule the day. Hurry up and turn that page. Michael Fitz Troy.
Okay, here we go. So I've already covered Batman and the Outsiders 1 through 21, as well as Annual 1. So now, I think I was missing a certain part of my collection because, I mean, whatever, convoluted backstory, but I had retrieved it from my collection and then got rid of my collection, and it was part of it. So, but that kind of is a testament to how much I love that Alan Davis run, his introduction to American comic books in a way on Batman and the Outsiders. 22 was his first issue. So this is the truth about Halo, my favorite character from Batman and the Outsiders, original character created. It's funny because Batman and the Outsiders, I feel like it was the crossover with the Teen Titans when I was first introduced to them or first thought to pick them up. And then, of course, I instantly fell in love. And then at the time, I don't know, I guess I was late in the game, but then I feel like this was like my first issue of Batman and the Outsiders, and I was completely blown away by the Alan Davis art, and just like totally life-changing. Loved his stuff. Very influential on my own art style. And then that prompted me to get like all the back issues like immediately of Batman and the Outsiders 1 through 21. And I probably already had the Titans crossover. So that's how I remember it anyway, my journey with the Batman and the Outsiders. I love this cover right off the bat. It's like the old JLA watchtower or satellite headquarters actually back here. Geoforce in his new yellow and green post Tara's death costume. It's funny because usually editors, I think, want artists to shy away from this kind of cover because Batman and Halo and this sort of cool color hold here are the only two characters who are really facing the camera, although Black Lightning is with his head tilted backwards. And I freaking love Black Lightning and his costume. I love all the costumes of the Outsiders. So much fun. I know traditional comic book superhero costumes are sort of passé, and and I mourn their passing, to be honest with you. I think they're a lot of fun. I guess done in the proper context, they could still happen. Let's take a look back. I mean, 1984 here, is it? No, 1985. But this is Amazing Heroes, which is a great magazine. I have a few of those. I should cover them in future issues. I guess I will. Best 10 books of 1984, Swamp Thing. I'm sure that was deserved. Probably Alan Moore writing at the time. John Stable, American Flag. Interesting to see a couple of independent comic books. I think the 80s was sort of the birth of indie comics and, you know, underground comics. Or actually, underground comics, you know, have been around forever. But I think indie comics in the 80s, you know, especially with the success of things like Cerebus and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you know, showed that underground or independent comic books were a force to be reckoned with, and definitely like a lucrative path to take as far as comic books go. Atari Force, very interesting. I think DC Comics published that, and they have some sort of licensing, obviously, issue. It's always like a licensing thing that screws the fans. And, you know, that's why we don't have like a great Atari Force collection. Not that I ever really read it, but it must be something special, as many fans as there seem to be. Power Pack, Doctor Strange, X-Men, of course, Teen Titans, all top of their game. Interesting to see the Teen Titans before the X-Men. I feel like if Claremont was still in the X-Men, that was a mistake because, I mean, you just couldn't touch Claremont on his original 17-year run on the X-Men, right? I mean, he definitely made me love the X-Men, made me love team books. Let's move in a little closer, shall we? Such a great double page spread. I mean, this, if nothing else, made me instantly fall in love with Alan Davis's art, and I just needed more. And he drew Halo so beautifully. My favorite character. I love her. Katana, another great character. Such a great silhouette on Batman here. You know, Alan did draw Detective Comics, I think, before this. Or maybe maybe it was after this. I really do think this was his first American comics, but it's interesting to see. It's weird because I think I feel this way about music too, and that's why so many people are sort of stuck in the taste that, like, a sort of arrested development. It's like a lot of artists are most appealing to me, like, in their earlier versions. I mean, Alan Davis is so refined and evolved, and I super love his style, but I just have, like, this fondness and this nostalgia for, like, his rougher, sort of more less refined style that we're getting here, which I just love. And he was penciling and inking himself, which was kind of rare for comic book artists at the time, especially on a monthly book, so kudos to him for that. He would eventually move on to work largely with Paul Neary and Mark Farmer, who were both excellent anchors for him, I always felt. And I really love Alan Davis's style and all the hallmarks of Alan Davis's art. He's just like one of those great classic comic book artists like Perez or John Byrne, who always makes like every superhero look so freaking cool. And this Halo, I just resonate so much with this Halo character. I don't know why I love her. Maybe because we're both blue-eyed blondes. I mean, hey, that's a great start, right? But, you know, she's just a fun character. She's got cool powers. And seriously, like, the coolest costume, like that black with the, like, I mean, and the way it's tied into her origin. I'm sure Mike W. Barr must have had some of that in mind creating her. But the way it just evolved and developed, and this is such a cool, like, shot of, I think any great comic book artist worth his salt has to be able to draw, like, all different types of genres, which would include cosmic, as we see here by Alan Davis. And Alan Davis has done so many things like Fantastic Four: The End, and JLA The Nail, and Excalibur, of course, unparalleled greatness there with Chris Claremont, naturally. And Clandestine, I mean, just like a few runs on the X-Men and just like Hulk. I mean, he's done everything and every character. And I don't know, he's just kind of one of those artists by now you almost take for granted just because he's just so amazing. But I feel like he always gives like 110%, and that speaks to his longevity. I always love this effect here with this sort of zipatone, like the Oracle, like Halo's original form, trying to leave her corporal body. Like, that's such a cool effect. I love it so much. I was just thrilled. I just love this. Everything about this. Ellen Davis taking over the Outsiders art. As much as, because I wasn't such a huge fan of Jim Aparo at the time, just because comparatively, I was more like an art snob into like more pretty looking art. And now I've definitely learned to appreciate, and I love Jim Aparo, and I actually grew to love his stuff on, reading through the original art in books. And so very different, but brilliant just the same, both geniuses. I love this cover here. I was thinking about this, looking at this earlier, and it sort of speaks to how Davis has matured a lot as an artist, because I feel like he would have left like these little lines out here, even though the colorist did sort of put them in the background a little more by using a different color on them. I feel like he would be more confident to use his negative space and just sort of leave it all white. And I thought that would have been a better contrast. That said, I love this so much. I love that we can tell exactly who everyone is from their gloves. And Black Lightning, of course, standing out is super cool looking. And using his power at the same time. Katana holding her blade. Batman, his fist. Geoforce. Nothing going on there. Metamorpho, kind of using his power. Anyway, Halo bound to her oracles. That is so cool. I just love this. I can see it in my head, picking up this comic book at page after page in Las Vegas, where I lived as a child for a brief period of time, probably during the summer. I don't know. Anyway, always reading the comics in the car on the way home because I couldn't wait. Just such beautiful art. I just could not wait. And I was so glad that we got, like, I don't know, at least 10 issues from Davis. Maybe more like 12 or 14. Depending on if there was a fill-in. I'll have to catch up on that one. So cool. I was totally blown away by this double-page spread. I love it so much. You can definitely see, I mean, and Alan Davis is one of those artists too who, I don't know, it's kind of weird because after like being a fan of his for a while, you know, his stuff on the X-Men, like Annual 11, was it? And like New Mutants Annual 2, like he was killing it. I swear to God, those Chris Claremont X-Men and New Mutants Annuals and special editions from the 80s are like, whoa. Just like nothing gets better than that. This is very cool, Tokyo. Love that. It was very popular to go to Japan in comics and movies in the 80s. And I'm all for it. I feel like I lost my train of thought. Oh well. Getting lost in the art. Mike W. Barr was just such a great writer. I love his stuff so much. I wonder whatever happened to Mike W. Barr. I don't even know the last stuff he wrote. But it's so weird because I think I was definitely more a follower of art than writers. And I did love a lot of the Batman stuff that W. Barr did, especially with Alan Davis. Like, I think it was year 2 or something like that, with the Grim Reaper and all that great stuff. And but I'm not sure of like what other books and stuff he wrote. So that's it for the and I hate when people call them the floppy or whatever whatever degrading thing you can call a comic book. And some people think calling them comic books is degrading, like they try to fancy it up with graphic novels. And I think John Byrne said it, and I completely agree. They're comic books. It's completely dignified. It's an art form. Call them what they are. You know, certain words, I mean, comic makes you think it's funny, but it's by now taken on a completely different meaning. So I was a little annoyed. Like, I guess this wasn't brand new when I got it, but it was like, it's pretty expensive to hunt down. And I thought I might as well just get the hardcover rather than get the floppies, right? Because I might still have them somewhere. But I wanted to finish the series. But what's this red mark here? I feel like you see that a lot. And what do they do that for? It's like, it's so degrading. Anyway, this is a nice looking hardcover. It is like new. I'll give the seller credit. So I'm not going to say that they're the one who put the red marker on it. What does this have to say? Let's read this. We have time. Mike W. Barr has written for some of pop culture's most enduring icons, including Sherlock Holmes, Ellery Queen, Doc Savage, The Shadow, Captain America, the Hulk, Batman, Star Trek, Star Wars, and The Simpsons. He's also created some icons of his own, including the comic book series Camelot 3000, which I do have, Batman and the Outsiders, The Mage Agency, which I loved. I forgot about that. Nominated for both Eisner and Harvey Awards as Best New Series, and Mantra. Oh, cool. So, see, he's like totally solid and great. And we all know about Alan Davis. So, let's just get into the hardcover, Volume 3, continuing where we left off on issue 23. So, this should be issue 24 if I did my math correctly. Ooh, nice embossed Batman and the Outsiders logo on the cover. This does look nice. I kind of love the all black. It looks pretty chic. It would look good on the bookshelf. That's fun. Very interesting. That's Halo from, I think it's from Batman and the Outsiders Annual 2, Luke Ross art, which is contained within. And I would have chosen an Alan Davis or a Jim Aparo image myself, but who am I? Superman and Batman and the Outsiders, DC Comics presents number 83. Interesting. I don't know that I've ever seen this before. No, actually, it's kind of looking familiar. Irv Novick. Fun, in a way. Looks very, very old school. This Irv Novick must be, like, definitely an old school artist. And if you're watching and you know who you are, you're probably disgusted and saying, duh, he's like a legend or whatever. But maybe a little bit for my time. But still, I'm like loving his art. Very classic, cool comic book art. But this is what I'm here for, is the Alan Davis. Batman and the Outsiders. Oh my god, great splash page here. Alan used to do a lot of this very fine, like feathery, almost very like wispy kind of cross-hatching that wasn't like pretty unique to himself. I'm thinking he probably still does some of that, but it's one of his hallmarks. This is another one of his hallmarks. He always makes his characters with their hand positions where their middle and their ring finger are together, and every once in a while I'll sneak that into my own art because I think it's fun. I love this so much, and Jim Aparo, I believe, created that, but Halo changing from in and out of her costume, that was like another, like, there's so many cool classic things about superheroes that I love that just are slowly slipping through the sands of the hourglass and disappearing forever. And clever costume changes is definitely like one of those. Like, there are certain things that, you know, Superman turning into Superman in a phone booth, and, you know, I mean, what's a phone booth anymore, right? I don't know, just Batman sliding down his pole count. Shazam, for sure. So this is Halo Shazam, and I just love it. It is so cool. Because you see the effects of her powers, and basically the totality of the whole universe, which she is, like, so celestial, and I don't know, it's so cool to me. It's just fun, beautiful, classic comic book art. So much fun. And then she gets, it's so weird, this picture here. I just was so in love with this woman for whatever reason. And I feel like a lot of times when artists do these crowd shots, especially someone who looks so specific like that, I feel like they have to be based on real people. Like, he looks like a little bit like Epstein from Welcome Back, Kotter, but I doubt it's that. But she, I don't know, I just loved her. She looks like such a bimbo, and I drew her like a million times in my own real art life. Here's Rex Mason, Metamorpho. I love that he always had to wear like a mask to sort of blend in public. It's weird to, like, I love these colors, I totally do, but it's funny to see how much comic book color has evolved, and how really, you know, the effects and the rendering and the filters and all that stuff really just being such a different aesthetic to it. I, of course, am a fan of the original. This is so great here. I love this so much. I feel like that was one of Mike W. Barr's strengths, and reading that he wrote Doc Savage and people like that. It sort of makes sense how he kind of, I feel like a lot of people neglect, especially modern writers, like, there's very little Bruce Wayne involved, because obviously Batman is the juicier part, but I think that Mike W. Barr handled Bruce Wayne very well. It was sort of like a more serious version of the TV one, just because he seemed like a real person, you know, and not just sort of a side gig. And I just love when they would like be in costume or be in their civvies to infiltrate an operation. I don't know. Just a very classic, like, superhero adventure kind of book and writer that Mike W. Barr was, for sure. This is so cool. This is such a great page here for so many reasons. So they're at the zoo. First of all, like, her subduing this Gila monster is kind of ridiculous. Anyway, so they go to the aviary. Oh, there are birds in here. Not only are there birds, there's bats too. Such a great reveal. Such a classic, like, Batman from the era. Definitely, like, what Neil Adams brought to Batman, existing completely within this panel. So great. I love how some of the bats are in silhouette and some are not. He's got, like, his flashlight on Batman, and the smile on Batman's face is, like, classic. This is, like, Alan Davis is such a great Batman artist. And, like, the silhouette here. I'm a fan of the yellow emblem behind it. Of course I would be, but I don't know. I think it's cool. I always have liked it. But then again, I guess that speaks to your taste when you're introduced something. And maybe that was the thought I was trying to finish earlier. But, you know, you sort of like the things you like that because of the impression they had on you when you were introduced to them. Like, this will always be my favorite version of Alan Davis's art, just because it's when I fell in love with his art. And that's why marriage doesn't last, because your spouse has changed over the years. I'm just kidding. Anyway, Sapphire Stag. I always thought she was pretty, and a blonde, of course. I mean, I just love that Alan Davis draws such interesting, like, supporting characters. You know, like, she's the woman for the bride fitting, and she just has so much personality and, like, such a great hairdo. She actually looks very much like Nancy Reagan. I highly wish the colorist would have picked up on that and put her in a red outfit. But you can't always get what you want. And I don't know that that's what they were going for. It could be some English biddy for all I know, right? Denise, never one of my favorite supporting characters. I know I should be more sympathetic because she tried to commit suicide because Brian wouldn't like her. And then after she didn't succeed, he asked her out on a date. So I don't really know what kind of message that's kind of trying to send. But I feel somewhere along the line it's the wrong one, and it never sat well with me. It's funny, it reminds me of the conversations with my friends earlier about the Teen Titans, and aside from Tara's May December, which my friend pointed out is May January, hi Philip, romance, like, Donna Troy was married to Terry Long. She was 19, he was 29, and I was just like, okay, what's going on here, Teen Titans? I guess it's realistic to fall in love with somebody old enough to be your papa or something, but do we need it in a comic book? No, I think not. Sign of the times, sign of the times. Thanks for different then. Such a great page here. I love this so much for so many reasons. I feel like I said the same thing about another page, but trust me, it happens a lot when you're looking at an Alan Davis comic book. First of all, I love, this is the building where Tatsu and Gabrielle live together. I've always loved their relationship. You know, she's lost, like, this orphan, and Tatsu lost her husband and her children tragically. So they have, like, a very maternal kind of mother-daughter bond, and I just always loved it. I thought it was great. And I also love this building they live in. I think it was definitely given to them by Bruce Wayne, which I feel like they mentioned. I don't know, I just like always love those cool aspects of Batman and the Outsiders, how things like that were explained. But I love it, and I'm getting there, people, so hold on. But the plants all up the side of the building just always like looked so cool to me. So Gabby has left. She's forlorn because she thinks that she's Violet Harper, this horrible criminal, and she just can't face it. So she doesn't want to be a superhero. She doesn't want to use her powers. She wants to spare any future pain, so she runs away. She joins a cult, for God's sakes. I love this, like, in retrospect. Like, how freaking epic is all this crap? Like, you guys need to be reading this. So anyway, Tatsu is very forlorn. She's lonely. She's taking care of the cat. But she comes home, and Sign of the Times, the answering machine picks up. It's Gaby. And she doesn't get to the phone in time. She drops the groceries. The cat's licking the milk. And she just looks like so isolated and so lonely, and just the buzz. It's like such a great comic book page, and goes to show, like, with all the wheels in motion, how magic can take place in one page. That's my tirade. But he's just such a great storyteller. I mean, it's amazing. And all the nuts and bolts are there. Like, the perspective is perfect. There's, you know, up shots, down shots, bird's eye views, you know, just like everything. Like, he just is such a great, classic, talented comic book artist. I've always, and his art is just such a pleasure to look at. I feel like he just draws everything so well and captures the moment. I mean, it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous panel right here. Capturing the moment. You know, this goes to show, I mean, once again, you know, when you're a comic book artist, you really never know what especially if you're not writing your own stuff, which I'm telling you, I don't know, maybe it's not as hard for other people. It's hard for me, maybe because I'm a writer myself, but to work from other people's scripts, it's difficult, but you never know what a comic book writer is going to ask you for. My favorite effect. So you have to be prepared, and I recommend it, you know, practicing, like, drawing a waterfall, drawing, you know, bird's eye views and worm's eye views and up shots and down shots and superheroes, but real people and snakes, you know, and animals and landscapes and everything. You know, what do they call it? Drapery, cloth, fruit bowls. I mean, I know it's so cliche, but there's a reason. I know there's so many ways to fake it, and you might not have to draw all that crap, but there's kind of a joy in knowing how to do it, so I recommend putting in the work. How do you like that? Oh my god, I love this image so much. It gave me, like, total mad-on to, like, have Alan Davis draw the Justice League, and then he eventually drew Justice League the Nail, and it was perfection and just so amazing. I covered that on another video. If you're not quite sick of me yet and want to find that out, my thoughts on that. Another great book that I totally loved. I just love this so much. Like, there's so many, I mean, I feel like a lot of this is missing in modern superhero comics from the big two. I hate to slam them because, you know, there still is good stuff coming out of there. And I'm hopeful, but a lot of it just seems, I don't know, like, talking heads and just, like, agendas and just, I don't know, just trying to be something. And I don't know, the characters just always seem so real, and the interactions just seem so genuine in comics. But maybe that's a reflection of real life, right? I mean, what are the genuine exchanges now? Like, it's a Twitter fight, a Twitter rant, a cancellation, I don't know, a down dressing as I go off. Like, what am I going off on this shit for? I don't know. I have no idea. I love the Cobra agents in disguise. That is hysterical beyond words. That is so cool. That is like some Frank Miller, Will Eisner stuff in a weird sort of comical way there. I mean, come on. It's like when you watch videos about the real Men in Black and they're like totally obvious in their suits. I love it. Great shot of Tatsu. I mean, Alan Davis's art is just really, really pretty and beautiful. But I mean, he's still, like I said, he does everything. Like, I love that. That's such a great, like, comic book moment. And that's what they say. It's like, you know, reading advice on how to break into comics and what you need to bring to the table and stuff like that. It's like, be able to show movement and within a panel. And that's like, Alan Davis just does it so well. All these multiple panels, like such a great storyteller. You know, it's like a gift as a comic book artist to be given this entire page, and it's really your responsibility and choice what to do with it. I love this element, these spy elements here. This is so cool. For so many reasons. First of all, Alfred. I love Alfred, obviously. I just love the stuff of Wayne Manor. I love this design on his robe, just the attention to detail. And it's a little reminiscent of the lining of Doctor Strange's cape. Oh, him using the silver tray to deflect the bullet. I just love that. That's so great. Him spitting out the hollow cyanide tooth so he can't ace himself. Hail Naha, Naha. I don't know. Always just the greatest villains in Batman and the Outsiders. It truly was. Like, it's got to be like the most underrated comic book. It just has to. Because it has just such a great classic superhero team book with great adventures, melodrama, interpersonal relationships, fantastic art and storytelling, and just like amazing enemies. And I just could go on and on. War Stars, I always thought that was funny. I have to give a shout out, first of all, to Adrian Roy, the usual colorist for the whole thing, because Jim Aparo letters his own art, or did at the time anyway. And so when Alan Davis took over as artist, they obviously needed a new letterer. And John Workman is one of my all-time favorite letters. I love, like, his little boxy style is just, I don't know, it just always aesthetically appealed to me, so I'm always happy to see him credited as the letterer, even though I instantly recognize his style. And I'm wondering, like, if a letterer's personal style is something that is going the wayside. What a great shot. I love this. That's kind of a John Byrne thing here to do, to have him standing, like, on the panel border. Although he's a little, there's no border. So that's cool. I love when they break the panel. And even when it's in just sort of an artistic way that isn't necessarily like, you know, Batman leaping off the page or Leah Briggs. As long as I'm your looker. Looker is right around the corner. Yes, I said looker. Don't censor me. Such a beautiful book. I love this book. I love Katana as a character. I think she's so cool. I've always loved, like, and they've always represented her very well. Like, he's always given her great, like, moments as far as showing her badassery. Cobra, such a cool, classic comic book villain. With all the, like, cliches of the S's and all that stuff. Hilarious. Very fun. See the fingers together like that. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's ever noticed that. Great use of silhouettes there. Alex Toth would approve. So much fun. I always appreciated his finesse and sort of just taking the time to breaking down like the choreography of the fight scene and just having it flow so naturally that you just sort of take it for granted. I mean, just his entire thought process into executing this is so worthy of so much praise, and yet he does it so well. You sort of just go right through it. But I totally appreciate it. And look at like the grin on Batman's face. Like, it shows what a freaking psycho he is. Like, oh yeah, like, oh, it's on now. And there is a huge part of that. I mean, that's been discussed before. Like, there is a huge part of Batman that, like, is a little bit of a psycho who just kind of enjoys it, correct? Feel free to chime in on that. I mean, I guess that, I mean, I don't know if that's common knowledge. I would love to see the pencils in this so bad. That's so beautiful. And this is like Looker's people from Abyssinia. I think, will we get into that? I don't know if we get into the truth about Looker into this. Oh, damn it. I may be like one of the few Looker fans. Definitely more by Alan Davis than Jim Aparo. That was a rough looking Looker, I'll say. Hopefully we'll get to that. There must be an Outsiders volume, right? Because after this, it's Adventures of the Outsiders, which turns into the regular Outsiders. So I demand more hardcovers. You hear me? Editorial at DC Comics, who clearly doesn't watch this. And speaking of watching this, if you haven't subscribed and you're still alive and haven't hung yourself watching this video, please subscribe and hit like. It helps. Here comes the annual too, where, spoilers, Sapphire jilts Rex Mason, our beloved Metamorpho. And I don't know how I missed the boat. I might have been moving. My mom got divorced a couple of times, and we moved, and sometimes I had gaps in my comic book collecting, depending on, you know, what I could afford and whatnot. But I'm also suspecting I might have been turned off by David Ross as the artist. And I really have a new appreciation for David Ross. He was a new artist who took over Alpha Flight after Mike Mignola, and after Mike Mignola took after John Byrne. So, I mean, the series of, you know, offenses there. I mean, nobody can follow John Byrne. It's just impossible, especially in my book. I love and worship him, especially in Alpha Flight, a book he created and is so beloved and beholden to me. And I just scored an Italian version of Alpha Flight Omnibus. And I wish it was in English, but it's so expensive. It's like $400 for that. And, you know, just not really thinking that's a good move for me right now. But anyway, I have this new appreciation for David Ross's art, and I think it's really cool, and I love it. He was a Canadian artist. I don't mean to say was, because I'm sure he's still around, but I'm not sure what he's up to these days. But I always felt he was very proficient in like landscapes and nature and things like that, and this definitely shows that off perfectly there. Sapphire Stag's father, like, oh my god, he's like hooked up to all this. And then the Masters of Disaster, oh my god, they need their own book so bad. Oh my god, I need to make that happen somehow. Fan fiction? Maybe. Anyway, so cool. I don't know why I love them so much. Probably because the Mohawk chick reminded me of Storm, and I'm obsessed, always will be, with Storm from the X-Men. Windfall, total cool character. I think she's sisters, Becky, and their boyfriends. Always just fun. They always seem... It's weird because reading some of the history on Mike W. Barr, I feel like he might have been a little older, and that's maybe why you don't see much written from him anymore. These days, I'm not entirely sure, but I always felt like he had this sort of punk rock aesthetic to his work, and New Wave being an example of that. I don't know why I've always felt that, but just some of it, the villain teams and stuff that he came up with, seem to have a little bit of a, I don't know, non-mainstream edge to me. And that's why they always appeal to me. They seem so classic. I don't know why they aren't used to death, but I love them. And Windfall would eventually leave the Masters of Disaster and join the Outsiders. In the adjectiveless Outsiders. God, I hope I have those in storage that I can show to you, because now I'm clamoring. If I make just one new Batman in the Outsiders fan from this video, I will feel accomplished. AF. Double capital right there with an exclamation point. Because I feel like, and there's the one they used from the title page. See how good I would be at memory? Right there. I hate to toot my own horn like that, because it's really not worth it. Anyway, more gorgeous scenery there. See the coloring, you know, they did the best they could with what they had at the time. But I love this. This is beautiful. I'm a converted. It's funny, I feel, you know, and if you watch any of my videos, you know, like, I'm one of those people who, and maybe I feel like my brother used to call me an art snob. Maybe that is what the problem was. But I don't know. I definitely was sort of beholden to certain aesthetics, and didn't have much love for like just more traditional, like what I thought was like lackluster. But now I have such an appreciation for detail and craft and storytelling that some artists just really bring it. I mean, that's pretty freaking cool right there. Like these crystal dudes. I love classic comic books. They're so great. Such a great, I should go even further. I feel like I'm just sort of, you know, I think like 70s is usually the earliest I would go. And I did do that Jack Kirby Fantastic Four video not too long ago, and I was totally in love with all that stuff, which makes me want to read everything ever printed from 1961 to 1979. Maybe I'll have to do that. I have always loved this cover. This is so beautiful. This is like a really great use of color and showing like a monochromatic color scheme and how effective it can be. And very dramatic. The debut of Halo's new hairstyle, which I was fine with. I mean, I prefer the long, I guess, but it kind of looks cute with the costume. It seems more functional. She looks super cute in it, and of course, Alan Davis draws it beautifully. Gorgeous double page spread here. The Truth About Looker, Part 1. Hilarious, right, guys? I don't know. I just feel like Looker was a cool character. She was fun. I mean, they should turn her into like the Jean Grey of the DC universe. This is interesting because this must be Alan Davis going from like an early sketch of Jim Aparo. Although it looks pretty much like it was supposed to be, but one interesting thing, and maybe I'm just looking at it wrong, but this is supposed to be like a bow tying together her weird costume, and it looks more like a rose to me. Has anyone else ever thought that about it? Please feel free to let me know in the comments. And interesting, if you've ever seen the design notes Jim Aparo did, one good thing they changed is like these eyeballs on her chest had pupils in them, and he even says like in the notes like it falls over the nipple. Huge mistake that would have been, obviously, for so many obvious reasons. And then he said Captain Marvel style cape, and it does look very Captain Marvel, and I love that. So you know, she's supposed to be like this gorgeous fashion model, sort of high fashion kind of look, and I don't know, it's a little wacky. I can hear Tim Gunn saying, "Who is this woman and where is she going?" I mean, honestly, I don't know. But nostalgia's sake, fun. I mean, people looking at it now are probably like, WTF. But they're WTF everything, don't you think? Mike W. Barr, writer, editor. I always felt that was a huge strength of this book as well. Like, he did such an excellent job overall on this whole book. So I was always glad he was the editor. Alan Davis, artist, penciling and inking. John Workwin, my favorite letterer. Adrian Roy, colorist. Doing a bang-up job, guys. I don't know, there's so much fun. I mean, this just goes to show the strength of Alan Davis as a comic book artist and storyteller, because he can make you feel the pain of somebody getting their hair cut, as we see in the hairdresser's face. I mean, that's pretty epic right there. I always love this here, this sort of silhouette shot. It reminded me of Paul Smith's art a little bit, who you could definitely put maybe in the same category. They have this open sort of, not quite animated style, but like a superhero style within an animated style within a superhero style, if that makes sense at all. But I guess you could definitely say Alan Davis falls into that sort of cartoony category, but I feel like he walks the line enough that it's not overly obvious. Like, even someone like John Byrne has sort of a cartoony quality. And it's funny because it's definitely more acceptable. I feel like all genres of art styles are acceptable within the comic book medium, or popular. I mean, who's to say what's accepted, right? But one of the things I sort of have always been knocked for, ironically enough, is that my style is like too cartoony. And that always kind of chapped my ass, because I love people like Jason Pearson doing a great cartoon riff, Scotty Young, Kari Andrews, just like, give me any one of those artists any day of the week. I love that kind of aesthetic. And so I've sort of leaned into that sometimes. Great shot of Batman. Oh my God. He just does, especially, you know, a character wearing a cape and cowl. You have to know what you're doing to emote him properly. And it's funny because I think when used appropriately, like, I love the eyebrow and I love the pupil. You know, I love, or iris. You don't really see the pupil, but I love seeing all that. Anyway, I've getting knocked for having a cartoony style, whatever. I'm glad that it's just across the board now. And that, you know, you see so many different kinds of artistic styles in comic books, because there's definitely room for it. I just love all kinds of art. What can I say? Okay, so this cover is awesome. I remember seeing this on the newsstand. See, when when these comic books came out, you know, we just had either the newsstand or the comic book store, but we didn't have, you know, like, online previews, and we didn't know months in advance what the cover was going to look like. So it was always kind of fun just to be surprised and just be like blown away. I probably knocked over the spinner rack, like, pulling this one off. Like, look how gorgeous this is, because it has this great shot of the team in peril underwater under this great green sort of murky water, and it's Metamorpho, you can see in this white color hold. I mean, you can perfectly see his face, and that's such a cool effect. And then, of course, you get a great cover title, because it's a comic book from 1986. Element Man, Watery Death. Dun, dun, dun. The Truth About Liquor, Part 2. 75 cents. Hell yeah. I mean, that is why you fall in love with comics. I don't know how that happens anymore, or if that's even possible with new comic book readers. I hope it is. Like, is it our job as, like, older comic book readers? I don't know. That's part of the reason I do this channel, is like, I want people to discover this great old comic book stories that I just will forever be ingrained in my head, and that I love, and I just want them to experience it for themselves, that, you know, they may not have thought of it or been exposed to it otherwise. So, blah, blah, blah. Mike W. Barr, writer, editor. Alan Davis, artist. John Workman, letterer. Adrian Roy, colorist. See, that's also the good thing about comic books from this era, is that you had consistent creative teams. You know, it'd be the same writer, artist, penciler, inker, colorist, letterer for 2-3 years, if not longer. And that's sort of like how you develop this rich, and that's why I feel is part of the problem, me just making discoveries all over the place. I love this effect here with Halo using her yellow aura, because different auras did different things. This is, I think, mostly used for light, obviously, but it always lit her up and made her black costume like yellow, so I thought that was cool. Gosh, I was onto something really profound, but got distracted by the art, and that's a good distraction, so I'll take it. I love that. That's a great, effective use of negative space right there. So cool. Great spotting of the blacks. Oh my god. Like, and then just keeping this white around it. It's such effective, amazing storytelling. This is why Alan Davis is like the best. I just love him so much. So cool. And just Metamorpho, it's like, it's funny because I'm not initially drawn to like the sort of freak outcast, like, you know, gruff and tumble kind of member of the team. And Metamorpho just was always so cool to me. I loved his design. I love how they always came up with cool ways to show him using his powers. And I just thought he was a lot of fun. I just love the whole team, obviously. It's very cool. I love Alan Davis always drew very hippie women, but very attractive, gorgeous women too. One of his hallmarks, I feel. Interestingly enough, this is hysterical. This is so the wrong message. So Looker, Emily Briggs, goes from being, this is so crazy. I mean, this is almost like Lifetime movie bad in a way. And it pains me to say that because I do love it at the same time, just because I love this book so much and I love everything about it and I love Mike W. Barr, but I don't know, somehow I feel perhaps missing a little bit of the mark here. Emily Briggs, she is just like beside herself because she's this mousy librarian, even though she has this great husband who loves her. Then she discovers she's actually a descendant of this race of like gorgeous supermodel looking people and Fabios, obviously. So then they transform her. Of course, they're shady and they're going to take the outsiders prisoner and make them their whatever that would be, almost like a zombie in a way. That's how zombies started. It was like more like mind control, I feel. This is very EC looking, very cool, very Alan Davis. Oh my god, I love it. Anyway, so they they use their technology to transform mousy, dowdy Emily Librarian Briggs physically and make her this gorgeous redhead so that she can, I don't even know, like, well, and she also is a telepath and telekinetic, but then she does get changed, doesn't she? Oh, I love this. See, another perfect example of not only a cool shot of Batman, but which goes to show just like how great and classic Neil Adams sort of version of his costume is and how it should always be valid in some form or another. But anyway, the great Metamorpho effect around him. This is weird. I have like a crystal ball on my crotch. Anyway, okay, so they're transforming her, and I love her like loose, like the costume looks hideous on her. Not that it looks much better here. She's like from librarian to drag queen in 5 seconds. I know that's horrible. I don't know, but even the bow on here, it's funny because sort of like the finer lines and just like some of this, it reminds me a little bit of what Frank Whiteley does, another British artist that I absolutely adore naturally. But such a great cover. I love it. Of course, I was absolutely in love with all of this at the time. It looks a little vaginal right there on her bow, but who am I to say? just so good. Like, such a great, like, how, like, I mean, it's very just imaginative, gorgeous page layout right there. And the debut of Looker, just like Jeff Goldblum, fresh out of the fly trap. Here we have Looker in this heinous outfit with this gorgeous cross hatching. And beautiful, nonetheless, Alan Davis work. I don't know, like, I'm so on the fence about Looker, but she does have her place, right? I just always thought it was funny because, I don't know, there's something, like, just super, like, red and pink doesn't really go well together. And then she has this sort of blue makeup that looks like eyeshadow gone wrong. So, I mean, there was a lot of mistakes going on here. But I'm not going to say I don't love her. I would never say that. She shows her the mirror and she's like, Jesus Christ, I look like Bozo the drag queen. Sorry, I know that's terrible. And I love, like, she takes to it instantly. Like, she goes from, like, insecure librarian to, like, throwing bitches around with her telekinesis. It is crazy. Then she goes full tilt boogie, like 5 pages later. She's going to marry the head of Abyssinia. I mean, these outsiders, I have to say, sadly, are susceptible to cults, and that does not show a lot of fortitude. But I guess they come out of it a better person, so a lesson to be learned right there. And then she goes full tilt buggy and, like, stops this comet or diverts it or something. Crazy, eh? But then she snaps out of it, takes her spears away from him with her telekinesis. She's the Jean Grey. I'm telling you, DC is sitting on a gold mine here. The Dark Looker returns. Ugh, this could be good. Katana wiping her blade. Oh my gosh, she totally shanks this guy in the back with her sword and says, I needed that. I don't know if Batman would totally approve of that. So I can see why their friendship is coming to an end, but that was pretty hardcore tattoo. Maybe she didn't stab him to death, but it looks a little bit like it, right? I mean, I know he was trying to destroy the world, you know, whatever. Hey, honey, I'm home. Honey, I'm She-Hulk with a red wig on. I don't know. I do love this cover, though. Is that not great? The last issue, Batman's gonna get pissed and leave. So, is this the last issue? Oh, how sad. This is the last issue that we're gonna look at today. So, if you have to go pee, you can hold it for a couple more minutes. Another great, amazing Alan Davis use of showing the powers of the team. Metamorpho mimicking Batman's silhouette here and Halo lighting up behind him with this gorgeous zipatone. Oh my god, like, I'm losing my mind. This is so good. Oh my god. See, once again, this is why comic books are fun. I feel like they sort of have powers, but they never use them, or in fun, effective, inventive ways. And I think that's the job of the writer and the artist, to come up with clever ways for us to show us what makes these characters so cool. You know what I mean? If you have telekinesis, that's not enough to just, like, I don't know, throw a plate across the room or something. Be inventive. Am I asking for too much? I don't think so. Alan Davis just draws such a classic, great, awesome Batman. I wish he would return to him in some way. Maybe do a Batman black and white story. I don't think that he's ever done one. I could be wrong. I should look into that. That would be cool. I'm really pissed that their hardcover stops here. But I guess hopefully we'll get another one, because there's a couple more Alan Davis issues. And some other stuff. But there's this Looker backup story where she goes from just being mousy little clerk, denied my true heritage, What a selfish woman she is. And now she's like totally in love with herself. I don't know, it's just kind of weird, don't you think? It seems a little self-indulgent and a bad messaging. It's almost like telling people to get plastic surgery in a way. Sorry, Mike W. Barr. Love ya. Mean it. It's true. Even to going and blasting her old picture. But I don't know. It's weird. So it could actually be a good analogy for a lot of things. I'm going to have to think on this one. Look off. Anyway, Jim Aparo. I love these pages from Who's Who, Katana, Looker. He draws a fun looker. I don't know. She's kind of... I mean, I'm sorry, but she does. She just looks like a drag queen. Very cool. Metamorpho. Masters of Disaster by Alan Davis. I love that so much. He drew such a cool new wave. I feel like he would go on to draw like Storm's Mohawk in a similar fashion. That's what I kind of loved about Storm's Mohawk, is like everyone drew it differently, from Paul Smith to Barry Windsor Smith to Art Adams to Alan Davis. Like everyone kind of made it their own, which is very cool. Cobra, very cool, by Alan Davis. Such a cool book, such a great book. Love this book. So happy I have it. You guys definitely treat yourself. The good news is The Outsiders, like even if you just start getting these hardbacks, they're not super expensive. You could even, the single issues are probably affordable. It hasn't been collected all over the place, but definitely, I mean, these are affordable, worth seeking out, fun to read. Comixology, I don't know. Anyway, thanks so much for watching Batman and the Outsiders. Hit like, subscribe, share my content, and I'll bring you some more later. Thanks, guys.